Hi, I'm Brian Oakley, Senior Service Manager here at LS Tractor. Today we're going to go over basic maintenance walk around of your daily checks for the new MT242 model cab premium tractor. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get the hood open. In order to do that, on the right hand side of the tractor there's a button down here. You're just going to push and lift and the hood will come open. So now that we have the hood open, the next thing we want to do is we want to check our coolant level. Here's our reservoir tank. We want to look and we want to make sure that our coolant level is between the low and the high marks. As long as we're sitting there in the middle, we're okay. The next thing we want to look at is we want to pull the radiator cap off and just make sure that we do have coolant in the radiator. We do. And just a note, we never want to do this when the unit's hot. You always want to wait till the unit's cool. Never open it when it's hot. While we're here, the next thing that we can check is our fuel water separator right here. So in here, any water contamination that we get inside the diesel is going to collect here in this separator. There's a red ring inside here, and as that red ring climbs, that indicates that you have more and more water in the system. So if you look and this red ring is up, we need to make sure that we open the drain and we drain this. Make sure you follow the procedure in the manual. There is an appropriate procedure for this. So once we've checked that, we're all good there. We're going to move over to the engine oil. Our engine oil dipstick is located right here on the right hand side of the tractor, down towards the bottom of the engine. And all we're going to do is we're just going to pull that out and make sure that the oil level is between our two hatch marks. As long as we're in the middle, we're okay. So we're looking good there. So we can go ahead and reinsert that dipstick. And now we're done with this side of the engine bay. All right, so now we're going to start moving over to the other side of the tractor. What we want to do first is we do want to check our air filter. So this does open up a little bit differently than some of our other models. So in order to do that, you're just going to take your yellow tab here, pull it straight out. Once you do that, you'll rotate the whole thing counterclockwise and then pull it straight back out. Now we have access to our filter here. What we want to do is we want to pull out our outer filter. And we just want to inspect it and make sure there's no dirt or debris in here. If this is dirty, one thing that we can do is we can go from the inside of the filter with compressed air and blow from the inside out and get any of that dust and particles and stuff out of there. You do want to limit your pressure to about 72 psi. You don't want to go above that. Anything above that, you could risk potentially harming the filter. And you don't want to take it and just start smacking it against something. You don't want to harm the filter. So always inside out, 72 psi. This looks really good. We can go ahead and insert it back in. To install our cap, we go back in the same way we came off. Rotate it clockwise that time. Push our yellow tab back in. We're good to go. So after that, we want to look at our radiator screen. This screen is designed to catch any chaff or debris or anything like that that may potentially get in and block the radiator, which would cause heating issues, overheating of the engine. So we always want to pull this guy out, take a look at it, make sure that it's not stopped up with any debris. To clean this, you can take a little bit of compressed air. Best thing is a water hose. Just take your water hose, run your water from the inside out and flush any of that debris out. Once that thing's good to go, slide her back in place and put your thumb screw back on, you're good to go. Okay, now that we've checked our air filter and we've checked our radiator screen, we can move on to our axle. Now on this axle, there's two different places here that you're going to see. On the left-hand side, you're going to see what looks like the head of a bolt that's painted white. On the right side of the tractor, you're going to see a blue plastic cap. Now that blue plastic cap is a vent. So there's no way you don't check it there, you don't fill it there. That's just a vent, a breather for the axle. So you do check it on the left-hand side and you can fill it on this side as well. So all you'll do is you'll take and you'll remove the gauge here, and now once you get that out, you're going to have a dipstick on there. Now here's a little hint. This fluid is very hard to see on this stick, so if you have a piece of paper or a paper towel, just take it and kind of roll it on there and roll it back, and now you can see the level of that oil exactly on the dipstick. In this case, we're good to go. So we'll go ahead and put our stick back in, and then once we get that in, we do want to snug it up because we don't want this thing to leak. So we'd snug that up with a wrench when we're done. So now before we close the hood, the last thing we want to look at is we do want to check out our battery terminals, and we do want to make sure that both our positive and our negative terminals are good and tight. Inspect the battery, make sure there's no cracks, you don't see anything leaking from it. We don't want any acid or anything coming out of there. So just look it over real good. Once you're done with that, you can go ahead and close your hood. Now that we have everything checked in the engine bay, our oil level and our axle looks good, we want to take a look at our wheels and tires. One of the things with the tires is we want to make sure that there's no scrapes or big abrasions or holes. We obviously want to make sure that they're inflated correctly and address any safety issue now before we operate the equipment. The other thing we want to look at is look at your lug bolts and your lug nuts. Make sure that they're good and tight. So an indication of a loose one would be some rust trails possibly coming down from around them, or any type of scoring around where they sit. If they are loose, you do want to torque those to 140 foot-pounds. That's the spec for those. So once your tires look good, you can run over and you can start looking at grease. If you haven't greased in a while, let's grease. Grease is your best friend. So with that, you've got two zerks on your steering cylinder, one on the outboard side, one on the inboard side, and then you also have one on the front trunnion and one on the rear trunnion. So now we're going to move into the cab and we're going to check a couple of things in here. One of the important things to look at is your free play on your brake pedal. It's really important that your free play is correct. If you have too much, you're going to have inadequate braking, and if you have too little, you potentially can be dragging brakes, which is very harmful. We don't want to do that. So we do want to check it. The other thing is that when we check this, we want to make sure that our pedals are unlinked, which means you can move them independently, because we want to check free play on both, not on them locked in. If they're off, if the right and the left are not even, what happens is when you have those pedals locked in, you'll actually get uneven braking, and the tractor could potentially turn either left or right like a skid steer would. So we want to make sure that this free play is even. So to measure that, we want 2 to 2.4 inches of free play. So at resting position, we're going to press it down, have ourselves a measuring tape here, press it down till we feel resistance, and measure it there. So again, it should be 2 to 2.4. To adjust that, refer to your operator's manual. The adjustment is made underneath the cab down here. Okay, moving to the rear of the tractor, the first thing we want to look at is this fuel tank. We want to make sure that there's no cracks or external leaks or damage or anything to the tank. The other thing to note too is that the fuel cap is located over on the left-hand side. This is a vented cap, so we need to make sure that if we have any mud or anything that's packed on this, that we get that out, because we do need this cap to vent. The next thing is, if we're going to be roading, we always want to have our SMV placard installed when we're roading. So this is your slow moving vehicle placard, so make sure that this is in place if you plan to travel along any roads. The next thing moving into is our 3-point lift. We want to make sure that everything's intact, nothing's bent, broke, damaged. The other issue is that we do have a grease cert right here, so we want to make sure that we're good and greased there. And then while we're back here, we're going to go ahead and check our hydraulic fluid. Now, before we check our hydraulic fluid, we always want to make sure that our 3-point lift or implement is all the way down. And then if we have a loader installed, that the loader is also all the way down. So if you have that loader extended, you're going to have fluid inside those cylinders. And so it's going to give you a lower reading back here, which could potentially cause you to overfill the unit. So then when you're operating it, you could potentially lose some fluid because it's overfilled. So we want to make sure that all that is down. So to check it, we're going to reach right back in here to this white cap, pull, and then we're going to have a dipstick. Now on this dipstick, you can do the same trick with your white towel. Roll it on there, take a look at it. We're between the high and low, so we're good to go. So we can go ahead and reinstall that. Now if we were low and we needed to fill, we would also do our filling here. So from all of us here at LS Tractor, we appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. We hope that you learned something, and we know that you're going to love this new MT2 model as much as we do. Thank you and have a great day.